I'm an archaeologist, and I work with what we find underneath Earth. But I also work with the unseen. And I come from Greece, that's where I grew up. And in Greece, we have a lot of mythology that it's trying to explain the unseen. Plato said that there is a parallel world to the world that we can grasp with our senses. And this parallel world is the unseen world. In archaeology, we work with artifacts that come down to us from past civilizations, and we try to reconstruct knowledge about them. Who produced them, why, for what reason, how they were used, and of course, it's all theory. But we like it. In 2006, I started working in the NTNU University Library with teaching archaeology students. And when I walked into that room, which is the old part of the university library, I thought to myself, wow, this is like walking in the memory of this land of Norway. Because we had archives that have been accumulating there from back the 1100s, pergaments, manuscripts, old books, pictures. It was everything about the history of that region that we live in, about this country, about the relationships with Europe, about everything. So I thought to myself, how are we going to survive now that technology has arrived? We're supposed to become virtual destinations. We start digitalizing everything that we had. So we scanned it, we transcribed it, if it was needed, we translated, and then we got it out there for the people to reach us. But was that enough? It wasn't. We had to also find new creative ways to present that. So when we started with that, an idea came. And the idea was, what if you can put on your 3D glasses and walk into a library and browse through these fragile old books, but as a virtual representation? This idea had to become a product. So what we did was that we took a book from 1590 that we had in our library, and we invited experts to go deep into the book. The particular book that you see here, was a book that a doctor by the name of Adam Lonitzer wrote and printed in 1590. He collected all kinds of medicinal distillation recipes from the region that he lived. He printed a book of 700 pages, which now we have at the library with colors, and it had a lot of drawings. So what could we do with that? Let's create a 3D book where the drawings would come out as pop-ups. But to do that, we had to recreate the process. How do you distillate herbs in 1590 with the materials that they had back then, the glass they had back then, the clay they had back then? So we invited a professor from NTNU that was teaching history of chemistry and her master student, Frederick and Lise, and they helped her with us. But they decided to reconstruct the actual oven and reconstruct it as much as that would be as close to the way that Lonitzer described in the book. So this oven that you see here, when it was done, we had to fire it up and we had to distill something. So we had gin at the end. So we used the study that Lise and Frederick did, and we tried to reconstruct the book so that it would become a 3D book. and it would give a tactile experience of the knowledge that was hidden inside. So we started with the book itself, and we needed software expertise. So for that, we looked around the 3D laboratories that we had in Europe that are working with dissemination strategies. There's a lot of that happening now because both museums and libraries need to become virtual destinations. If you're not a virtual destination, you're not on the map anymore. It's like you don't exist. So we went to Pisa and we started a collaboration with a 3D laboratory there, Percro, and we established a research project. And what we wanted to see was whether we could use technology in order to disseminate the content from the old books and support learning. So let's play with the content of a book. We have the illustration here of a book that's about the same time as Lonicher's book that shows you the lab of an alchemist in 1590. We created the digital version of that. So we decided we are going to base our game on the knowledge that has to do with all of that coming from the book. The experiment itself should be an experience as if you would walk into a lab of 1590 and perform that experiment and get the distillation done. So we presented this to school students. We invited a couple of classes to our lab, and we asked them to be our experts. And what we found out was that there are three main issues when it comes to learning and technology. Technology is a tool. We can use it. We can use it to disseminate the hidden knowledge from the past that you find in the books. But you have to have three elements. The first one is how do we trigger curiosity, and technology can do that. How do we create fun? Fun, it's connected to games, so we use the gaming technology to do that. And how do we motivate them to learn more about the subject? So creating this kind of an interactive learning lab, as we have created now in the University Library of Guneros, which doesn't have to be physically there. We can come to any school, we can adjust the project that we have to the subjects that they would choose. We can create the assignments together, and we can create an educational frame around that so that technology is the tool. And it's not the purpose. And then the kids that are really good in games, they are the experts. So we can use them to give us feedback. So that's the idea behind the Mobile Lab. We'd like to share this with anybody that would be interested to work with us because we believe that knowledge from the past should be approachable, should be tactile, should be something that we can share with everybody. Thank you.